Hello and welcome in to this week's edition of the Hard Fowl. I'm your host, Intern Joe Macheca, joining you guys live from Nashville, Tennessee. We are at Bridgestone Arena. South Carolina just wrapped practice and had a media availability. We'll have all the coverage from that. But with me here, as always, is my co-host Jack Veltri. Jack, how are we doing today?
Man, it's been a crazy day so far, and just getting in here to Nashville, but it's been awesome so far. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Ole Miss is on the floor right now, trying to keep it a little low so these guys can get some good work in. But yeah, Jack, obviously we just wrapped players and Lamont Paris. What were your initial thoughts from media availability?
Yeah, I thought it was really good because, obviously getting that win over Mississippi State on Saturday was big for momentum and stuff. I mean, I just wonder what this atmosphere would have been like had they come into this tournament losing 2 games in a row. But you get that win, you're back on track, even though it's something he doesn't like to say because they've been pretty consistent all year. But, I think the vibes are good. They're having fun, and, they're ready to make a run here and get ready for what's to come.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of veterans on this South Carolina team. These guys, the BJ Max, the Michi Johnsons, they've played a lot of games and a lot of days before. So, I'd say they're pretty prepared for it. And then they're just passing it down to the younger guys, Colin Murray Boyles, among them Arden Conyers, and then the younger guys, too, that don't necessarily play as much they're going to learn from this experience and then bring it back to South Carolina next year. But that's just kind of the vibe, right? The culture is running through for South Carolina at this moment. They're in a good position. They feel good about either Vanderbilt or Arkansas tomorrow. And then, obviously if they can get that done, they have Auburn waiting for them. But, the culture is shining through right now, and, they're keeping the vibes high.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, whoever they play, I think they're in a good position to, win that game. I think, Vanderbilt, you look at that game earlier this year, South Carolina was trailing at halftime, and then it took a 50-point second half to ultimately win that game by double digits. And then with Arkansas, like they said during availability, they pulled away the entire way through and, controlled that game. So if they can play their brand of basketball, I think they're going to be fine. It just comes down to whether or not they're going to be able to play good defense as well as, shoot consistently like we've seen them do.
Yeah, absolutely. Wayne Cousins says, Joe, Wayne, appreciate you joining us this afternoon, this fine Wednesday afternoon. So again, reminder, South Carolina gets ready to play either the winner of Arkansas or Vanderbilt tomorrow as they just wrap practice and media availability. So we're giving you guys the rundown, everything that Lamont Paris, Michi Johnson, BJ Mack, and Talon Cooper had to say. But Jack, out of all the players, what stood out from you and, anybody in particular?
So I think specifically for me is Michi Johnson because, of the guys we got to talk to, BJ Mack, Talon Cooper, Michi was the only one that was able to go through this experience last year of, obviously South Carolina came into the SEC tournament as a really low seed in one of those first play-in games and lost to Ole Miss. And, a lot's changed since then, but Michi still remembers what that game was like, and he doesn't want to go through that feeling again. So I definitely can understand it. And for the guys that are now just joining the team and going through this experience for the first time, Talon Cooper and BJ Mack have seen a lot of basketball, and basketball is all the same in all fairness. And, I think they're all prepared for this moment, and, they're ready to make a deep run. They're not looking too far ahead to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, they know they're going to be there, but to win the SEC championship would mean a lot for them, and they have a really good chance to do it as a 5 seed. It's not going to be easy. You got to go through teams like Auburn and Tennessee and some of the other upper echelon teams in the SEC to get there. But right now, they're just taking it one game at a time, worrying about tomorrow, and we'll find out who they play later tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. As we do wait to find out who they play again, they're just kind of letting the chemistry, right? It's another road trip. They're probably in the SEC tournament regardless of how they play. If they drop the first one, obviously, in a little bit more hot water, but I think they're good either way, right? So that, they want to win the first one, get another crack at Auburn too. This is a team that, they had to play at Auburn. Auburn had lost 2 home games in the past 2 seasons leading up to that game, right? So really tough road test. Now you get Auburn potentially at a neutral court, right? So not to think too far ahead, but you like your options there. And again, like this team is loose, right? They're ready to go. Playing their kind of basketball. They've responded well here late in March, and what you want going into the tournament and also the conference tournament too is like you want guys playing their best basketball. And so to be able to respond like you did from the 2 losses, I think it's big. It's very big to be able to respond like you did, and then keep everything on track. Right, there was zero reason for anyone to lose any faith. Right, And then the Tennessee game, they responded back from that with a very hard-fought win at Mississippi State. When Lamont mentioned it too. Mississippi State had to back up against the wall. South Carolina got it done in overtime, but again, really hard-fought win on the road. Now you're at Nashville. Now you're in Nashville, Tennessee, beautiful Bridgestone Arena, and so now it really does mean more. You're playing in the SEC tournament. This is where all the marbles made, right? So you have the potential to go shock some people and continue to prove everyone who's doubted you so far wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And Gary Bryson says, "Wish I was there. I expect SC to do well in the SEC tournament." And speaking of the NCAA tournament, I feel like this is a good, almost like a trial run, right? You're going for the first time, what feels like forever. You're going into this SEC tournament knowing you're going to play March Madness after. It's not like you have to come into this and try to win the whole thing. Obviously, that's the goal, but you don't necessarily have to. And so I think this SEC tournament serves as more like a pre-run for what's to come. You're playing every day. You're playing against some of the best teams in the SEC. This is only going to help South Carolina get ready. And the deeper they go, the more confidence it will give them going into the NCAA tournament. That's not to say they're not going to have confidence at all. Obviously, they're going to be confident and playing with their swagger and brand of basketball. But this is a time where they can figure out what's working for them, what's not, improve upon it, but also try to win the whole thing and really show, that they can be a tough out for anyone come, next week.
Yeah, absolutely. South Carolina brings in one of the better defenses in the SEC, and they're going to need a lot of it. A lot of high-powered offenses in the SEC. Kentucky, Tennessee being one of them. And obviously that's further down the road. And you still, again, if you do win tomorrow, you have to beat Bruce Pearl's Auburn, another high offensive team. Gary says if you lose, get more rest before the NCAA tournament. Yeah, absolutely. So, there is, a bright side to this. But, if you're South Carolina, again, it's the same mantra you've had all year, right? After being picked to finish dead last in this league, go out and prove everyone wrong. Everyone's still sleeping on it. Everyone's still talking about Tennessee, Kentucky. And for a position for motivation, this team is right where they want to be, right? There's zero room to be complacent if you're South Carolina. So a lot of room to grow too, but I think this will be a good trial run. Obviously, you have to play the extra game because you didn't, beat Tennessee and secure one of the top 4 seeds. But again, good trial run. And I asked Michi Johnson about the shooting, right? Because this team shoots a lot of threes, and basically what he told me is this team runs through defense. And when you're playing so many games and so many days, you can't really rely on shooting. And Michi said, it runs through the defense, fast break points, stuff like that. And then they have a consistent post presence, which has been great in Colin Murray Boyles. But Jack, I know throw a lot at you there.
Yeah. Where you start, I guess, with, losing, that's not the mindset you want to have. You want to try to win this whole thing, right? I get it. You can have more rest if you lose, say tomorrow or whatever. But at the same time, also think about it this way. You're going to have so much time off. It might be a good idea, but at the same time, you get to, if you make a run in this SEC tournament, you get to, really see where you're at against the better teams in this conference. And I think that only benefits you, right? I feel like if you're taking so much time off, you lose a little bit of that momentum you had, starting up. And, I think if you make a run till Sunday, they might be tired after it, but you get until at least Thursday or Friday next week to rest a little more. And so they're going to have enough time to rest either way. But obviously more rest is good. But at the same time, I think adrenaline's really going to help this team through what they're going through. And then just, kind of talking with the play style and stuff, I think it was really good to see that South Carolina could win that game against Mississippi State with the help of their bigs. BJ Mack and Colin Murray Boyles were the reason South Carolina won that game. It didn't come down to, big time shots made and stuff. The paint play, I feel like, was really the difference. And it just goes to show South Carolina can win games in so many different ways. Obviously, they can shoot the 3-ball really well and stuff and win games that way. But the fact that guys like Mack and CMB, when they're on, can take over an entire game really says a lot about the versatility of this group.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do want to win and then try to find ways to be rested, right? When you play as much defense as South Carolina does, I think that gives you a lot of faith, right? Because when the shooting isn't there, you have your defense to rely on to score points, and fast break points. We know how good this team is in the fast break, and if they continue to shoot the free throws as well as they have these last couple games, they should be in a pretty good spot. We know March got to take your free points when you can get them. So South Carolina's free throw shooting has been pretty solid so far.
Yeah, definitely. I get the comment here from Gary Bryson again. I'd rather win and try to be rested another way. You want to win the whole thing, and I think you're gonna have enough time off either way. Like I said before, like let's see. So
it does pick up a little bit though.
Oh, absolutely. But like if you go through this and win, and you're done by Sunday, let's see, you get Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then you're playing either Thursday or Friday. And I think, look, I mean, the NCAA tournament and SEC, the whole postseason is going to be like this, where you're playing game after game. And, there's not a ton of time for rest. But I think, with Lamont and what the guys had to say, they're going to try to make enough time for rest, in between these games and stuff. And I think that's just, to make it through March Madness and this tournament, you have to, have, just, you have the stamina's got to be good, and your rest has got to be good too. But I think adrenaline also plays a big role in moving on from game to game. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Lamont Paris has seen the NCAA tournament, obviously, with Chattanooga, and this will be his second run through the SEC tournament. So there's a little bit of experience coming back this season. But again, if you're South Carolina, you're trying to prove people wrong. You want to go as far in this tournament as you can, and obviously, so set yourself up for a pretty big run next week as well.
Definitely. Now, let me ask you a question, Joe. We're talking about last year and this year. What do you feel like has been, the biggest change since the SEC tournament last year to this year?
Well, I mean, I think the culture is the biggest thing, right, with this team. Complete 180 of where you were at last year. And I think last year it was part of, you had to have last year to build where you're at this year, right? All the struggles, the ups and downs. I think, the core of this roster learned from that. And, now they know what they want to avoid come March, right? So, now, they've got the ship on track. They've got the culture exactly where you want it. And so, that leads to good basketball. If everyone's on the same page in March, because again, the officiating is going to tighten up. The SEC, these are going to be SEC officials, but then again, the officiating is going to tighten up come March. So everyone needs to be on the same page. And then to have Lamont, he's seen a lot of basketball, in the tournament as well. So to have Lamont, also contending for a National Coach of the Year honors, I think it's a very big deal. And, got to get through the SEC tournament, but, proving people wrong. Again, I've said it, I feel like I've said it like 10, 15 times on this program. But that's what this team is here to do, right? Everyone is still doubting them somehow throughout the rest of this 25 wins, 26 wins, 6 losses, Lamont, and you only lost 2 games in a row once this season. And this, everyone continues to sleep on South Carolina. So now you're at a neutral site. This is where basketball, shows up, the game of it all. So who are you in a neutral site? We're about to find out. Jack, buckle up. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I feel like we maybe talked about it at the beginning of the show, but the vibes just feel so different from last year. Like, I mean, I wasn't here at the SEC tournament last year, but from hearing what it was like, and hearing from the players today, it seemed like it was demoralizing to, go into a season where you just want it to be over, right? And ultimately it was. I mean, you only won 11 games last year, and, nothing says fun about that. But this year, I mean, 25 wins in the regular season, most in regular season program history. And then you get to, know that you're going to play the NCAA tournament next week and stuff. I mean, why not have some fun, right? And I think you got to enjoy moments like this. I mean, we also forget. I think Talon Cooper says it best. It's just a game at the end of the day. These are college kids, and these are experiences they're going to remember for the rest of their lives and stuff. So to be able to go through this with those guys, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be the most fun that they're going to have. So.
Yeah, Gary, Ole Miss is practicing right out in front of us, Coach Beard, and this isn't just a shoot around. This is practice for Ole Miss. They're actually going pretty hard. South Carolina's was a little bit more of a shoot around style. They were a little bit looser, but this is practice out in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing right now, it's just they're playing like 5-on-5 drills and stuff. Really defense and stuff.
It's different.
And with South Carolina, South Carolina practiced for about 40 minutes when we were here. And they were already working when we got into the arena. But, what we saw the entire time was just shooting around and stuff, taking shots, a little bit of passing the ball around and making some plays and stuff. But nothing like we're seeing with Ole Miss here. And, I mean, it's just like it's hardcore defense right now. Like, it's like the real thing right now. And, it's not to say South Carolina is, goofing around or whatever. That's not at all the case. But I think, it just goes back to maybe Ole Miss has a lot more to prove right now. Because obviously Ole Miss is trying to make the NCAA tournament, and a few wins here would definitely help. But for South Carolina, I mean, look, they already know they're going to be there, but it wouldn't hurt to maybe help their seeding or win an SEC title. I mean, who knows what can happen?
Robert Ash, will the men's tournament ever be played in Greenville, South Carolina? I don't. Got an answer?
Nah, I mean, not that I know of. That'd be cool, right? It's a lot closer to home for us. Not to say being out here isn't cool or anything. It's awesome, man. We just got here. I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah, definitely. South Carolina preparing, obviously, again for the winner of Arkansas and Vandy later tonight, and then they play early tomorrow morning, I believe. Early tomorrow afternoon.
So they're going to play around, I believe, 3:30
tomorrow afternoon.
Eastern time. And for those of y'all who don't know, Nashville is in Central Time, so we're an hour behind right now. But I think and it also depends. There's a game before. I believe it's a 9 versus 8 seeded game, and then South Carolina will play the winner of the 12-13 seed matchup around 3:30 p.m. on SEC Network tomorrow. And we're gonna have coverage all weekend as long as this thing goes on. We'll be here, and we're grateful for it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, to be honest. And I'm just excited for what this week can really hold. And again, like we said, it doesn't mean a lot for South Carolina in terms of whatever they do. It's not really going to make much of a difference because I think they've already proven that they're going to be playing in March Madness. But wouldn't it be cool to win an SEC title? Something they've never done before. And I think this is really their best shot to do it. I feel like they got the group that can go out there and win 4 games in 4 days and make a run.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see how South Carolina fares out. But again, they control their own destiny. But Jack, you want to hit some ad reads before we kind of wrap things up here in Bridgestone?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Our first ad of the day is going to be our good friends over at Liberty Tax. Tax ID is an uncertain feeling you get right before doing your taxes, but you don't have to go through it alone. The tax team at Liberty Tax in Irmo, Lexington, and Columbia will walk you through the process, clear up any confusion, and guarantee you'll get the biggest possible refund or your money back. It's tax time. If you're in a hurry for your refund, call on the tax team at Liberty Tax. They're fast, accurate, and guaranteed. If you're in a hurry, on the other hand, if you think you might be owing Uncle Sam, talk to the Liberty Tax team to make sure you're not paying more than you should owe. They'll find every possible deduction for you. Locally owned and operated, staffed by tax professionals from your neighborhood. Open 9 to 9 on weekdays and 9 to 5 on Saturdays with multiple service options. Start through the Liberty Tax mobile app or through the desktop portal. Make an appointment or just walk in. Give a call to upload your tax documents. And when you come in, your return will be ready to review and sign. Give them a call on your screen right now. And for those listening, 803-462-5576. Once again, on your screen right now, 803-462-5576. And then our other sponsor for today, he's above us on all of our Gamecock Central live programming, our good friend Clint Hammond. In need of help with your mortgage? Call our good friend Clint Hammond of the Movement Mortgage Network. He's been in the mortgage industry since 2003, which allows him to help everyone from the first-time home buyer to the complicated and complex jumbo buyer. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance, nothing is more important than a well-thought-out financial strategy that comes with 5-star customer service. He's even helped out our very own Wes Mitchell and former Gamecock quarterback Perry with their mortgages. So give our guy Clint a call. He's above us. All of our Gamecock Central live programming, 803-771-6933. Once again, 803-771-6933.
You want to talk a little baseball real quick?
We'll get to baseball. What does Big Red have to?
Who's our first SEC tourney opponent? South Carolina will either be playing Arkansas or Vanderbilt tomorrow. The Razorbacks and Commodores kick off tonight around, I believe, 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SEC Network. And that is the matchup to determine who plays South Carolina tomorrow. So, very interesting game. 2 teams that South Carolina knows very well from this season, beating both of them, but no game's easy in this tournament, I don't think, and it's going to be really interesting tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jack, as you mentioned, so that we're going to cover a little bit of baseball here before we get out of here, because we're not doing foul balls this week, obviously, with the SEC tournament going. Yeah, so talking a little baseball. Jack, you were in North Augusta. South Carolina wrapped up their midweek win over Georgia State, so big win there, and moving on to SEC play against Ole Miss.
Yeah, coincidentally enough, right? So last night I was in North Augusta, like Joe said, to cover South Carolina versus Georgia State baseball, and look, offense wasn't great last night. You struck out 13 times. You left a lot of runners on base. But you got enough big hits to get the job done, right? Ethan Petra, an RBI single right away in the first inning. And then Tyler Causey with a massive RBI triple. That becomes the difference in the game. and then he takes home slides into home on a wild pitch, and he had a big game yesterday despite striking out, I believe, twice. But then from a pitching side of things, I think you got another good start from Eddie Copper. And then you use, three of your better arms. You use Matthew Becker, Chris Veach, and Garrett Gainey to lock down the save. And, from talking to Mark Kingston after the game, that was a necessary evil in order to get the job done, right? I mean, some people are going to say, oh, it's just a midweek game. Why are you using your best arms all in one game? But at the same time, you're trying to win games, and every game counts the same. So for South Carolina, it was big to get the job done, and they'll all be available this weekend against Ole Miss. And looking ahead to that series, I think this is a series South Carolina should win to kick off SEC play. But at the same time, it's a road test. We know the offense is a little iffy right now, but I think they're going to work through it, get some of those kinks worked out, and we'll have a lot of coverage from that this weekend. In addition to our SEC tournament, info.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Jack locking it down all on the baseball front. Again, they're at Ole Miss, so it kind of works out as we're in the Nashville for the Bridgestone, or in Bridgestone Arena. I apologize. Been live for too. It has been a very long day. We're live in Bridgestone Arena, Nashville, Tennessee. If you're not already a subscriber to GamecockCentral.com, head over to our YouTube channel. Check all that out and subscribe as well. But, Jack, anything else before we wrap things up?
Thank you guys for all tuning in. Looking forward to this week. And, it all gets started tomorrow. So let's do it.
Absolutely. Appreciate everyone joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. And we will talk to you guys on the GC Live post-game show. Check us out tomorrow after the game.